So good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another video of the Shield Dude on a Couch. So before we go into our top 5 albums of the year with me and Señorita Sabrosura, we're going to take a look at 10 honorable mentions. These are albums that I quite enjoyed but did not quite make the top 20. And I have all types of music genres here, with rock, metal, death metal, so everything together on these 10 albums. So I'm not going to rank them like 10 to 1. I'm just going to talk through them through like albums that I enjoyed the least to the one that I enjoyed the most. So the first album I'm going to talk about is from a band that actually he was a member of the band Teenage Wrist, and the band is called Heavenward, and the album is called Pyrophonics. And this is an album that if you like Teenage Wrist, you will enjoy this. It's pretty much alternative rock with some grunge elements to it. I think that Dominic, I think is the name of the singer, sounds very good in it. And I like that the tracks don't sound like Teenage Wrist. I like that they have like some different elements to them, and it's a very good album that I listened to by chance because it was recommended, and I saw that an ex-member of Teenage Wrist was in this band, so I checked it out, and I'm glad I did because it's a pretty cool sounding record. I don't think I didn't see a lot of like people talk about this record, but I quite enjoyed it, and that's why I have it as an honorable mention for this year. So yeah, it's a great album that if you enjoy that type of music, you will enjoy this. So let's continue, shall we? So another album that was a huge comeback, especially in sound, is In Flames with Foregone. And yeah, I quite enjoy this. I think that this lead single that they put out was great. And I like that there was a lot of like great guitar melody reminiscent of their older material, but with some modern style. So I think this is the strongest album that they put out since maybe Come Clarity in 2003. And I saw In Flames live like 4 years ago, and I think the addition of Chris Broderick to the band has given them like a new perspective, and the guitars on this album are great. I didn't put it in my top 20 because there's some albums that I enjoyed more, but I have to put it in an honorable mention because this is a very solid album by In Flames and a good return to form. So if they keep doing this style, I think it's going to be good for In Flames because they were being too polished in their last album. So I'm glad that they went back to their old style on this one. So very promising album. That's why I have it as an honorable mention. So the next band is from Australia, and they're called Neosyscis. The album is called Exul, and this is a band that mixes death metal with progressive, and they have violins in their albums. And they have clean vocals plus the harsher vocals. The person who plays the violin, he's the one who does the clean vocals. And this album is another solid album for them. I don't think it's their best release. I think some of their earlier material, I think is a little bit stronger, but this is a very good album nonetheless. This is a band that I think is very unique with what they do with the violin, but on this one, I think the violin is not as front center as some of their older albums. It is there, but it takes a little bit of a step back, but always present. And yeah, I quite enjoyed this. This album came out like almost at the beginning months of the year, and I did listen to it a lot in the beginning of the years, but I don't have it at a top 20 because I listen to it less throughout the months of the year. So it lost a little bit of momentum for me, but still a great release, Neosyscis Exul. So do not sleep on this band from Australia. Very good band. So let's continue, shall we? And the next band, it's a band that really did a great album with its Tumult, the Enduring Spirit. And I actually interviewed them on the channel, which I was very excited to interview them. So this is a band that they're very much death metal, but on this release, they have included some progressive elements to their music, especially the last song on the album, which I think is called Enduring Spirit. And I like it when they do that progressive things because it gives it more layers. Because I think standard death metal to me can get very repetitive at times. So I think what Tomb Mold is doing is great. You know, they're expanding their sound, and they're very talented. And I think this is just the beginning. I think the band, if they keep embracing those progressive with the death metal, they can be one of the top bands in this genre. And this artwork is just exquisite. And if you want to know more about this release, check out the interview that I had with Tomb Mold, because we really go in depth into the themes of this album. And there's just great guys. So yeah, that's why I have it in my honorable mentions. So let's continue with more albums that I think deserve to be listened. So the next one is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And this band put out a lot of releases, sometimes too much. And the problem that I have with this band is that sometimes they put an amazing album, but sometimes they put albums that, to me, I'm sorry, they're misses. But this isn't one of them. Petro Dragonic Apocalypse, I know it has a great, like a super long title that I'm not going to mention. This album has a lot of elements of thrash metal, but also like progressive side and some like classic sounding rock to it. And it's all about the environment and how we are shitting on the environment. So it's got a great message to it. And this is another band from Australia, and I think they're super talented. But sometimes I think that they release too much material, and that can weigh down because sometimes you don't know what you're going to get through them. But when they do something like this, it's just amazing album. I remember they released another like thrash metal album, Something to the Rats, like a few years ago that I enjoyed. And they had a few other ones that I enjoyed, but there's some that I couldn't get into. But this one is great. And that's why I have it as an honorable mention. So continuing on, the next band that I'm going to talk about is a band, it's a one-man band, and he does like thrash metal. It's called Hell Reaper, Warlocks, Grims, and Withered Hags. And this was one of my favorite albums of the beginning of the year. I really enjoyed it. I've never heard of him, but this got some great album rippers to it, like great soloing. But I did listen to it less as the month went by. But I started revisiting it the last couple of months, and yeah, it's a great thrash metal band. It has some elements of death metal as well, but the riffing here, great solos, and the vocals are great as well. So if you want to listen to something that's gonna like blow you away with solos, do not sleep on Hell Reaper, Warlock's Ring, and Withered Hags. And that's why I have it as one of my honorable mentions. So continuing on with albums that impressed me, this is a band that I listened to like just like a few weeks ago, because I didn't know that this album had come out, but I had a friend that recommended it to me. And yeah, I think this is a band, the name is Fires in the Distance, and the album is called Air Not Meant to Breathe or something like that. Let me check it out, because but let me talk a little bit more about this album. So this is an album that has a lot of like clean singing, but it also has a lot of like piano on it. It has harsher vocals. And what I love about this album is that the spacing of the songs. I think that they really play with spacing, and the orchestration that they use and the piano really give Air Not Meant for Us, that's the name of the album, a great feel to it. So I think that this is a great album that I almost left off, and that's why I don't have it higher, because I listened to it like just a few weeks ago. But you should not sleep on this album because it's great. So we have a few more to go, that albums that actually quite impressed me a lot. And yeah, what can I say about the last three albums on this list? Yeah, they're all so good that they almost could have been in the top 20. So This is Creeper with Sangibor. And Creeper are a band that they have like a punk goth aesthetic to them, and on this album they have more of like an opera feel. It feels like if the Rocky Horror Picture Show came into life as a punk rock goth album, and it's great. And I like the vocals from it. Sometimes it can be cheesy, but it's a great amount of cheese. It's an album that, I don't know, it makes you when I listen to it, I wanted to sing the songs. And I just imagine that this album could be a play and it would not feel out of place because of how theatrical the songs are. So yeah, Creeper with Sangibor, great album that I'm glad that I gave it a chance, because I had listened to the band before and I wasn't like a huge fan of it, but I think this album won me over. So we have two more albums before we have any more. And this band I'm gonna see in January. They're a death metal band with ex-members from Nervosa, and it's called Krya with Shades of Sorrow. And to me, this is one of the best death metal albums of the year. I really enjoyed it. I think the riffing on it is great. I think the vocals are super awesome as well. And I hope I can talk to these girls in January 27 when they play in Puerto Rico. Just great all around, like solid death metal album. I think it's better than their debut, and they're doing better than her previous band Nervosa, in my opinion. So that's why it almost made my top 20 albums of the year. So Krya, Shades of Sorrow, listen to that shit. It's good. So the last album that I want to talk to you about actually came out in December 1st, and I have been playing it nonstop. If this album would have come out a little bit earlier, it would have made my top 20. But since it came out so late, I haven't had enough time with it to put it higher. But believe me, out of all the albums that I mentioned, this is the favorite one that I have. And the band is called Code 7. And yeah, this is an amazing album. This is a band that really, they used to be, they started in the 90s, but they hadn't out an album in 20 plus years. So when I heard that they were putting out an album, I listened to the singles. I think it was called Hold Tight. And I thought, yeah, this is an amazing single. It sounds great. I like the alternative rock feel to it. The vocals were good. And they used to be more of like a hardcore band. But with this album, which is called Go Let It In, it's more on that alternative rock side. But yeah, I love it. The bass in this album is great. The vocals are great. And it's just an album that I had on repeat since December 1st, and I haven't stopped listening to it. And that's why out of all the albums on these honorable mentions, this is my favorite. So those are my 10 honorable mentions. I want to know what albums for you are honorable mentions that didn't quite make it. Put a list. Maybe there's some albums that I missed, because you can't always listen to everything. And, there's so much music. So put suggestions so I can listen to more music. So coming up next, the final video of the year, our top 5 albums of the year with Señorita Sabrosura. I'll give my top 5 and she will give her top 5. That's coming out Friday, December 22nd. And I'll do some shorts and stuff, and then I'll see you guys back in January. So I want to thank you. And until next time, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.